Can't hear him. Can't hear him. Hello? Hello? Live?
He's gonna have to come back in and come back out.
Okay, hello? There you go. You're on mute, Michael. Michael's on mute. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's frozen. He's gonna have to come back in and come back out.
He's on mute. He's on mute. It says you see mute across his picture. You're on mute, Michael. Yeah. Like right there it says mute. Well, 1, 2, test 1, 2. You're Michael. Michael's on mute. Check the settings. Well, I guess I'm going to stick to Zoom, true. Where?
On your TV screen.
No, I know, but when my host Michael is on, you can't hear him. He's on mute.
I think you need to call him.
I don't have a number.
Oh, you don't. That's really
Yeah.
weird.
Ed, can you hear me?
Oh, now I can.
All right. Oh,
So do you have a director of technology over there?
apparently not. Apparently not, Ed. Well, anyway, Folks, apologize for the technical difficulties, but we got it worked out thanks to my producer, Keith Williams. With me this evening, I have a very special guest. He goes by the name of Ed Rush. Ed Rush, oh my God, let me see. 32 years as an NBA official. He's done referees over 2,000 regular season. I think it's 247 playoff. And I think he did 32 finals, if I'm correct. If my math does, guy. I got dementia, so I come in and out. But anyway, Ed, I want to thank you so much for coming on my show. I apologize for the difficulties. But the reason why I want you on my show, first of all, I have so much respect and regard for what you do and what you've done and what you've accomplished, your longevity and so many things. And I'm here to give you your flowers. And Ed, I'd like to set the table and just have you talk about anything you want to talk about. I'll go from the beginning. I know you started refereeing in the NBA at 24. I did my homework at the age of 24, and it started from there. Can you let the viewers know how it all began?
Oh, sure. Well, first, Michael, where are you located?
I'm in New Bedford, Mass.
Oh, okay. So this is you have this show as a weekly show?
Yes, I do.
Okay, very good. All right. So I'm very interested in the platform you're using too, because we have a company called Court Club. We teach referees all over the world, and I have empathy for when people struggle with the technology.
Yes.
Because it's we we hired a guy, we call him our director of digital services, and he's I'm 82 and he's a lot younger than me, and he gets the digital services part, and we've been able to navigate through Zoom. But I'm interested in this thing that you guys have because it looks pretty interesting. Anyway, so the God has blessed me and then our family. I started when I was 24. I had just started teaching and coaching, and my aspirations were to end up to be a college football coach. That was my passion, and basketball was a kind of a side deal that I did, and I loved it. So when I finally got an opportunity at age 24 to come to the NBA, I was an expansion referee. The league had just added the Chicago Bulls as their 10th team. And with that, they added a few referees. I was one, and it was I think my salary at that point was $60 a game.
What?
Yeah, and then they liked what I did, so they raised it to 75. But I was not there for the money, and it was just for an opportunity to see the country and referee some good ball players because I really wanted to be a football coach. So I did that for a year, and I continued to coach. Then I took a year of leave of absence when my school took a sabbatical, and that sabbatical lasted 32 years and a lot of great journeys. And the league grew, television changed everything, and they actually started to pay us. And then I made a lot of friends and met a lot of people, and I worked a lot of games with 7 back surgeries, and a lot of joy, and just God has blessed us, and we're still at it. We run a program called Court Club, and we have referees from all over, and it's a basketball officiating life format, and we just try to help people and navigate through some of the challenges. We help them because of technology, because of Zoom, because of streaming, because of all the things we can do with video. So we actually we were in contact with them 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We supply them with what we call the Court Club Nugget, which is just a little piece of 8 to 10 minutes of information, which is video, and it's help basketball referees. And we have people that work 7th and 8th grade games that are still in high school, freshmen in college, to NBA officials. And then we have people in the other countries that work the international game. So we touch all areas, men and women, of the game of basketball, and it's been for my wife and I, it's been very energizing. Because of Zoom, we meet a lot of people. I mean, you and I are meeting tonight, but it's kind of a beautiful thing that we have going here. And we're like I said, we're blessed, and we take it about a month at a time, and we're excited about being here in the month of January.
I can appreciate that, Ed. What I'd like for you to do for me, if possible, is go back to when you began officiating and talk about some of the players you officiated games for.
Okay, well, I always tell people that I started in the Wilt Russell the Chamberlain Russell, Oscar Robertson, Jerry West era.
I never said, but go ahead, go ahead.
So that's when I started. And we had 10 teams. So and we didn't have a national TV contract,
Right.
but we had some terrific players. And interesting enough is that at that time I also worked in the Eastern Pro League because I worked NBA games, but I didn't work 100 or 85 or 90 NBA games, and I worked in the Eastern Pro League, which was kind of a feeder to the NBA. Well, when the fact is that the NBA only had 10 teams, there were 10 players per team. So do the math. There were 100 NBA players. There were an amazing number, Michael, of great basketball players that did not play in the NBA. That they played in the Eastern League. And there were a lot of different reasons, by the way, that they played, and some of them was not all talent. There was a whole thing about the racial equity that was going on at that time too.
Mm-hmm.
That we saw, and then we saw evolve and change. We talk about that all the time. This month coming up, the Martin Luther King Day, that we should continue to reflect on where we've been. Because it was in my lifetime. And talk about where we are, and obviously we want to continue to grow and continue to be better in that area.
And I had the pleasure of interviewing Sam Jones on this show 3 months before he passed.
Mm-hmm.
And spoke, and he had me in tears. He spoke about what it was like playing in the 60s as a player. What was it like for the officials?
Well, by the way, Sam Jones was a great human being. I mean, just a wonderful man. Really a phenomenal basketball player, but just a great guy. And a guy that you could communicate with, and a very honest communicator too. But he was a special guy on and off the court, as you well know. Well, we were think about this. There was only 14 of us on the staff. We were a close knit group. We had almost everybody on the staff had other jobs because we weren't making the kind of money that we could support our families. So and the jobs that folks had, like Normie Drucker was a school administrator, and Mendy Rudolph was an exec at WGN, and Earl Strawn worked for General Electric, and we had people that were policemen, and so they all had this almost to the point where at that time officiating professional basketball was an avocation. So the league had not grown far enough where it could really have become a profession, and that really happened during the early days while I was in. That we evolved into the point where we were, we got collective bargaining going, and we became a real profession.
Talk about, if you would, the rules as it was back then in the 60s, because I knew they made some changes because of Will Chamberlain and all that. Maybe you could talk about that briefly.
Yeah, I think Michael, that we were all I think the rules of basketball have always been a work in progress.
Right.
I've never been in the game where there wasn't something people said, hey, we should change this, we should change that, we should change that. There were always certain little things. And obviously, I'm from the Philadelphia area, and I knew Wilt when he was in high school at Overbrook High School. And then he went to Kansas and then played for the Globetrotters. But, there was a thing about him that they said, well, he never missed a free throw. Of course he did, because he was two steps behind the free throw line, and he was a phenomenal athlete, and he would long jump to the rim and just, and that was the way he shot free throws. So obviously, boy, that doesn't work. He was the only player that could ever do that. So
Wow.
they put in a rule that you can't break the plane until the ball gets to the rim.
Wow.
That was a Will Chamberlain rule. When he was in high school, they used to run out of bounds plays, and he would get at the free throw line, and he would just come down the lane, and they would take the ball. Well, his teammate would take the ball from behind the backboard, throw it over the backboard. He'd come down and throw it in, dunk it. So when they would go on the road, Overbrook would go on the road, the teams would put chicken wire up behind the baskets so they couldn't throw the ball over there. You know, so wait a minute, this looks bad. Let's change the rule. Can't throw the ball over from behind the backboard to the front of the backboard. So all these rules, I would say that the 3-second rule, as we know it today,
Mhm.
is because of Will. And I would say that the defensive 3-second rule, as we know it today, which is a great rule, by the way, that was because of Will also. Because those rules, the 2 3-second rules, are really rules that are a demand on movement.
Mhm.
And that's why they're in there. You have to move. You can't stand still. And
Right.
that was because otherwise you take a great player like Chamberlain, and he could just kind of park there in front of the rim, and there would be no layups. You know, so so they put that in. But yeah, and then I think that what has happened in modern day basketball today is that there's such an emphasis from the time that I was working in the league office in the early 2000s, and we really got together as a rules committee and made changes on freedom of movement.
Mhm.
So all the forearms and the chucks and the impedes and all the things that we did, we allowed the physicality that was allowed during the 70s and 80s. It was cleaned up to the point where we had really strong standards and guidelines, which are implemented today. That's what the league has today. Now, what has happened is there's so much freedom of movement that the perimeter play is now dominant. It used to be that the interior play was dominant. Everybody had to have a 7-foot center. Now you have to have the extra players on the outside, on the
Right.
perimeter. Everybody's got to shoot the 3 ball. You know, everybody got to shoot the 3 ball. And frankly, that's something that basketball itself is examining. Like, do we need to adjust this? Because there's some games, some nights that's you see an awful lot of 3 ball, and I believe that the game is a game of ballet and choreographed beautifully when it's 90 feet from one end to the other, and we do all kinds of things like we run and cut and screen and all the movements of our body, move the body, move the ball. That's the beauty of the game of basketball, and I think some nights I don't see it the way as much as it should be, but I think that what will happen is like anything else, the players will adjust, and so will the rules folks, and there'll be some adjustments made.
Now, Ed, I claim to be a basketball historian until I had Sam Jones on my show. He put me in my place real quick. And what was it like as far as the intensity of the players? And, of course, us being the Zebras, you must have got some verbal abuse, things of that nature. How did you, to do it 32 years, Ed? To do it 32, you must have some great stories.
Well, I don't know. Well, in the first place, verbal abuse. I don't really think there was my definition of verbal abuse. I didn't really experience that. I mean, the league has always had great security.
Right.
The players always had there was always a level of respect for the officiating community. And that doesn't mean that they couldn't agree to disagree, but there's an underlying respect that's always been there. And I believe that it still is. I think that when the league sees any individual who doesn't meet that standard, you see that they're very aggressive when it comes to suspensions and those kinds of things. So the officials are they're put in a place where, I mean, we're all humans. Nobody worked a perfect game. And probably never will. So it is a mistake-filled game, both playing wise, coaching wise, and officiating wise. And it's just a matter of how we manage those mistakes. and how we navigate from one play to another. And so that's a lot of it has to do with how we manage our emotions. And the better players in the league. I mean, I go back to like a Julius Erving, one of the greatest players ever, and he was a phenomenal human being, a great player, and he had tremendous control of his emotions. And where he was always in control of the situation, regardless of what was going on. And that was one of the reasons that made him such a great player. I mean, it was the same thing with Michael Jordan. The control of his emotions at all times was what made him such a great player. So we have to do the same thing. We have to be able to manage and be mature and manage our emotions, and know that there's going to be dialogue. There will be disagreements, and that. But I would not characterize any of it as verbal abuse. That's not. I've never really participated in that.
Awesome. And looking back from the late '60s when I started paying attention to the NBA, I never really heard of anything, in a negative way. Anyway, I never really did. I just wanted to, because right now you see a lot of it kind of happening in the NBA right now because the players make so much money.
We have to understand something. What is going on? I blame some of this on social media, and so a lot of it gets blown up. And then also, when with all the cameras that they have,
right?
There's so much dialing in on people's faces and individual things. I mean, there's 10 people out there. There's 3 referees. There's 13 people. There's all kinds of conversations that go on. I don't believe that it's worse than it's been. I just think that it's glamorized a little bit more. And it's brought forward because of the combination of social media and all the cameras and being the fact that every game is televised, that it comes out. Now, are there a few players that I would put them in the knucklehead stage? Yeah, there's a few of them. I mean, we have over 300 some players, so they're not all perfect. So there are a handful of people that are a little bit out there emotionally, yeah. And I don't think it'd be too hard to figure out who they are. But also, the league is very aware of those things, and that they're kept to the point where they're managed. So I feel that that's really it's not a major issue at all in basketball.
Okay. Now you were responsible for the ongoing recruitment, training, and career development of the officiating staff of the NBA, the WNBA, and the NBA D League.
Way back when, back in the early 2000s. When I got off the court, then I worked in the league office, and I was in a leadership position. So I enjoyed that. I'm a natural teacher, coach. That's my wiring. So frankly, I got into the league office, and the more responsibilities I took on, the more administrative things I was doing, the less teaching I was doing. So after 5 years, I went to the commissioner and said, I really want to go back to doing what I love doing, and I know that I can help people. I don't feel like I'm helping people in this position. So I went to a different position. I was like a development person, direct development. And what I did then was I worked with the younger officials and just helped people to get better at their craft, which is what we're doing now with Court Club. We 17 years ago, we started Court Club, and that was the same idea.
That's very interesting because now I got a story to tell you, and I want the viewers to listen to this. I had a good friend of mine. You may know him. I think you might know him. His name was Eric Brittle. He's from from where I am, from New Bedford, and he was an aspiring official.
Right.
And I used to travel with him wherever he went, and we would go, and we go. Matter of fact, we went to Purchase, New York. And Eric was, I guess, being, I would say, scouted or looked at.
Yeah.
So we go in the gym.
Eric was in the development program.
Correct. It's a pro-am game.
Yeah.
And Mark Jackson, who played for the Knicks and everybody, he happened to be playing that particular game. Now, I'm walking in the gymnasium. Now, the viewers may not know, but I know you know this one. As I'm working there, I go in there with Eric's father, Peter Brittle, who just recently passed away too, by the way. And he was trying to get some information as to what the evaluators we're looking at. And you know who those evaluators were? One was Lee Jones,
You're a very good friend of mine.
and the other one was Ronnie Nunn.
Right.
Uh, So
Yeah.
I'm standing, and I'm sitting right there. I got Ronnie Nunn, I got Lee Jones, and I got Peter Brittle, and Eric's officiating the game. It was a summer league game, and they were telling Peter Brittle exactly where Eric should be. You know what I mean, as far as on the court angles, and I mean, I was blown away. And you know, and I'm gonna tell a quick story. After the game ended, I'm thinking Eric did a good job. Eric came back and he said, "Dad, can you drive?" Because we had to drive from New York back here to New Bedford. And Peter drove, and Eric sat on my shoulder and basically cried his eyes up because it's that tough. People don't know. That's why I wanted you on the show as well, because I recall, I got a lot of stories. I recall that, you know, again, the viewers don't know that the officials get a tape of the game,
Right.
and they have to be, and it's reviewed. I remember Big Bob Lanier. I'm pretty good now. You know, I remember that. I remember, you know, and I don't think the viewers really get an idea how hard that the officials have to work. And that's kind of why I wanted you on the show, to give these guys a different perspective on what they think about officials, that they are not that good. You guys really, really work hard, and I don't think the viewers get a proper idea. And me being official, nowhere next to your level, I just want the viewers to get an idea, because I want my guests to make an impact. And who better than you? You know what I mean? Who better than
Well, let me say this: that experience you had, first place, those two guys, Lee Jones and Ronnie Nunn, are elite teachers of the game. So I'm sure that Eric became a better referee as a result of being in that environment. You had to be, right?
Oh.
And you just have to understand that there's a lot of people trying to get to the NBA, you know, and you know, like the Bible says, the road's narrow, and there's only a few, you know. That doesn't mean that those who don't make it are not good officials. You know, the game of basketball is filled with people that are excellent officials, and we have more games, good games, than we have good officials. We need people. So the game of basketball at all levels are filled with individuals who were aspiring NBA officials, but they didn't make it. It's a numbers thing. It's not because they weren't competent at all, anything but. It's just that it's just extremely competitive, and it's even more so today. It's incredibly competitive. It's really, really difficult. You know, there's a whole process that to go through, and to get to the G League, which is now the old D League, now the G League.
right?
It's incredibly challenging. You have to go to where you get cut 4 different levels of camps, you know, and they cut the squad at every camp. When I say cut the squad, they'll have 100 some people, and they may keep 20. You know, and then they move on to the next camp. They take that 20 and they go someplace else, and at the end they have 2 or 3. You know, so that's how difficult it is. And then those 2 and 3 work the G League, and then you have to be in the top 10 of the G League before you're going to be looked at as a serious candidate. Well, there's almost 70 referees in the G League working a lot of games. You know, so it's very, very challenging. So you see somebody come in the league now, and they're a rookie. They're a rookie, and you say, rookie referee. Well, guess what? That individual has been through so much training and so many difficult, challenging situations that their experience is not rookie. It just happens to be that when it comes to years with NBA on their shirt, might be limited, but not with not in the game of basketball. So you know, you have to have a tremendous amount of respect, admiration for those folks who get into that program and stay the course. Hard stuff.
I mean, it is an amazing grind. I recall Eric coming home, and he was given a tape from the NBA where it was almost like a 2 hour video of just block charge,
Yeah.
of just block charge. I mean, that's specific. People don't know.
Yeah, what is this? What say? We study this from a psychological standpoint, mental, social, psychological standpoint, and from the teaching standpoint. So the brain is very complex, and yet we learn so much about how we learn. And so the brain is affected by what's called the myelin effect. The myelin effect means that with all of the conduits of information that go through one part of our brain to the other, when we repeat the same thing over and over and over again, that conduit becomes stronger and stronger. So that when something happens on the court, our recall is immediate because it's happened to us. We saw it, we felt it, we know it. Oh, yeah, I saw that before. So that's why it's the same thing. Look, with players, when players go to practice, they practice layups, they practice footwork, they do the same things over and over again. They are building those wires to strengthen the recall, right? So that's what the NBA officials, the sophistication of what they do, they watch video at halftime. They pull up video at halftime and they have different situations. There'll be times at halftime, they'll dial back into the replay center, say, hey, can you give us a different angle on this play? The sophistication of by which they are going about their business is beyond belief.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about the decisions that they make and the speed by which they make them, and their efficiency is over 90%. Now think about how many people in this world, in whatever job they have, are 90%ers. Not too many, right? And so you think about it, and also they know, by the way, they know that the deal is that the American public is going to lean on those 7 or 8%, 10% they got wrong. That's just the way it is. So you have to find a way to block that out, to manage that, to stay away from all the noise. We cannot be affected by the external noise. You have to stay the course. You have to make sure you stay on that wiring from one part of your brain to the other. But you have your listeners look up myelin effect, MYELIN, and see what happens with the brain when we continue to build those wires to strengthen our learning capacity.
And Ed, what I did was I notified a lot of officials that I know to tune in because we're going to get more knowledge from you listening to you right now than we could probably ever get anywhere else. Now, when you are evaluating talent on the officiating level, what is it? I mean, you can't. I mean, you can go on for hours, but what details are you really looking at? What do you actually look at? And now, and part one, part two, you reaching the pinnacle of officiating. Well, I mean, like, for example, a lot of players can't be good coaches because they don't have. We're so.
Yeah, that's accurate. Well, so basically, in Court Club, we ask people. People will say, well, "I want to come into Court Club," and we say, "Okay, we need to know. Are you coachable? Okay, can you adapt to the situation, right? And are you physically fit? In other words, can you run? And that's a really a major part of that, right? So to be effective, you really have to be mentally and physically strong, and you have to have the right mental psychological outlook
Mm-hmm.
to getting better. And the whole idea is that we will bring somebody in and do everything we can to help them become the best version of themselves. And that means I'm not worried about Mike. I'm not going to compare myself to you or compare myself to anybody else. I'm going to say, I'm going to look and say, where am I now? And where am I trying to go? And when I look at my journey, I want to look and see where I've been to see where I'm going. Right? And what it comes down to is that, a lot of it is there's got to be self-motivation. Is that your phone? Huh? Is that your phone, Michael? Michael. We're off air now, I guess, huh? You know what happened here? What's that
Yeah,
noise?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I heard that noise. I didn't. Did you hear that noise?
You know, Ed, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it seems like every time I do a show, I get interrupted by phone calls and things, and affects my show. But anyway,
Okay.
I get technology, but I'm listening. Go ahead.
What's that?
Can you hear me?
No.
Let me go back on. Let me come back on. Hold on, Ed. Stay with me. Stay with me.
Drew, what do you think? That's a good one. That's a story to tell. They need you.
Austin.
Yeah. Hey, Drew, who is Timothy Keller?
What?
Timothy Keller.
I don't know, it's an author for, Debbie Herman got the book for all the gals to go to Bible study.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, it's a nice cover.
It is. And it's big time devotional. It's not just reading. They want you to write things down and all that too.
Wow.
It's the Psalms. It's the whole book of Psalms.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, there's no, you can't, we don't write stuff in the book here.
I found a new book. I just
Yeah.
started writing.
How long have you had this?
Well, since at the Christmas party we had a Bible study,
Okay.
so I started in
Is it for ladies?
No, I didn't read it.
Oh, so it's male or female?
Yeah. In fact, you go through and read it
Oh,
every
look at that. So it's every date.
and you go through the whole Psalms.
Oh, I really like it.
Well, then help yourself.
Oh, I didn't. I thought it was just for like,
Not at all.
what? She just gave it to the ladies.
What?
She just gave it to the ladies.
Yeah, in the bag that and another book.
Um.
That's this. The other was a book to read. This one
Yeah.
was just a devotional.
I'm gonna have to get off here.
The little,
Huh? I think. I think I've been patient.
you can come and watch all this pregame stuff if you want.
What?
Come and watch all the pregame stuff.
Yeah.
I guess he can call you back. He can hang out and call you back. Unless you think he said, hang in there with me.
Yeah. All right. That will be it.